I'm Becky Berger, and I'm running for Texas Railroad Commissioner. I'm a petroleum geologist, and I have a minor in engineering and one in economics. I've been everything from a roustabout to VP of exploration, so I've not only done the dirty work, I've also done the budgeting, the hiring and firing, the scheduling, and the prospectuses that you would need to do. I use the Railroad Commission in my business all the time, and at this stage of the game I am doing acquisitions and divestitures, and I'm also doing expert testimony. I did have the luxury during the bad times for the oil business to work in the mining industry for 16 years. So I'm the only candidate who has these kind of credentials, and this is everything that's dealt with at the Railroad Commission.
In what areas do you feel the Railroad Commission needs the most improvement?
Well, if you just take it on the surface and don't dig too far, attitude probably would be the #1 issue. It's not across the board. There's always good employees everywhere who do the right thing and treat people with respect. But in general, the morale is pretty low over there. And part of that has to do with, in 2009, they cut the budget to the bone, which they were trying to be frugal, and at the time, nobody anticipated that in 2010 we would have the Eagle Ford Shale and the Barnett Shale come on gangbusters to the point that we do not have enough people to actually handle everything that comes through there.
Do you feel that they've improved the budget to the point where they can handle that capacity? Or?
What I would really like to see is we're the ones collecting over half the money for the state of Texas via the Railroad Commission. The oil industry is the one industry that actually supports our lifestyle in Texas. And what I would like to see is a small fraction of a percent, not 2%, a small fraction of a percent of that money to go to operate that agency effectively, so that we don't run into these lulls and the highs where everything's going smooth and then we bottom out because all of a sudden we have too much work to do and no people.
The Texas Landowners Bill of Rights states, quote, "Your property can only be taken for a public use," end quote. Yet private common carrier pipeline companies have the statutory right to eminent domain. Do you agree with this practice?
Absolutely not, and I fought the legislation for it. And I really believe there's another way to do it, because satellite towers are put on your property and they lease an easement. So do utility companies. When you're getting a check once a year, you're a lot less likely to be offended and upset about that pipeline being there than you are if you do like I did, come home and they'd thrown a pipeline across my property while I was out of town, had to sue them to get my money, and it's the aggravation of knowing it's there and you can't use the land. So I think that the companies would be doing themselves a lot of favors by actually going to the landowners and saying, where's the best place for us to put this? When people tell you those pipelines need to be straight, don't let them fool you. That's liquids and gas that's going through there. It's not something sludgy. So
what can the commission do to protect private property rights?
Well, I think we can encourage the companies to do just what I suggested. I think that we should recommend to the legislature that they repeal that law that gives that right. And I think the other thing that we're going to do, if you're going to keep that law in place, you can't just check a box to say that you're a common carrier when the bottom line is you have no burden of proof to show that you actually are. And a lot of these companies, this was originally set to cover intrastate pipelines. These are interstate pipelines for the most part.
What do you think is the best method for the Railroad Commission to handle the EPA? Is litigation the best route?
Actually, I think doing a massive media campaign, slamming them with the science on everything they've been wrong about. When you can show flat out that it's false, and you got to remember, these are the people that don't believe in creationism, they believe in science, they believe in evolution, and you show them that, show the public, don't show them, show the public that they lie, that they exaggerate what they have put into their global warming science. When they actually change what their data is and what their results are, and you keep bringing that up and bringing it up, let's face it, if they don't like us, they sure bring up stuff that's not even true, like fracking. and like people who have their water catch on fire. They keep acting like that's true, and it's been proven false multiple times. So I think it's really got to be us using the bully pulpit of the Railroad Commission to keep after them. Because when they are wrong and it's publicly known, they have no support from anyone. And that's what we need to do.
Well, on the fracking issue, Texas has faced a lot of water shortages, droughts over the years. And there are concerns with the practice of using millions of gallons of fresh water for fracking operations. New technologies are being developed to use alternatives like brackish water and natural gas. What can the Railroad Commission do to encourage these alternative technologies?
We can incentivize their permitting fees. If they're going to use gel, which uses 1/3 as much water as regular fracking, or if we can get them to use gas fracking, then that's something that we should definitely look at.
The issuance of gas flaring permits has increased nearly 3,000% since 2008, from 107 to 3,012. Should the Railroad Commission incentivize the capture of emissions by limiting the number of flaring permits?
I'm not sure that would be the best approach. I do know that they're flaring it because they're not making any money off of it, so the recapture is going to cost them, and then they have no place to use it. You can only use so much gas to frack with, and there's a lot more of that being flared. And the good news is for the environment that it has no particulate matter when it burns, so you're not ending up with poisons in the air or ash on everything. So honestly, I'm not sure it's the best way. What would be good for Texas would be to switch all of our fleet vehicles to natural gas, to switch all of our manufacturing to natural gas. Any motor can be made into a natural gas motor. We should be doing that, and we shouldn't have to destroy the vehicles when we do it, which is one of the things that's a stipulation with the Railroad Commission to give you funds to change your vehicle into a alternative vehicle.
Now, would you like to, as far as incentivize the switch to natural gas vehicles, do you mean the fleet for the Railroad Commission or the fleet for the entire state government?
For the whole, not just the state government, but any business, Federal Express, the U.S. Postal Service. If you operate a fleet of vehicles in the state of Texas, you need to be using natural gas.
One of the easiest questions, I'm sure you might get this often enough, since the Railroad Commission no longer oversees railroads, should the commission change its name, and do you have any suggestions?
Well, I actually like the Natural Resources Commission or the Energy Commission, but Energy Commission doesn't really cover everything that they do there, because they're also covering pipelines and mining, which is very important to the state of Texas. I would love to see them change the name so it's more in line with what we actually do. But if you're in the industry, everybody knows who the Railroad Commission is, because everybody's regulations are based on ours. And so if we don't change it, it's not the end of the world. But if we had changed it this time, we would have had to have all of our permits from the federal government reissued with the new name, and we were scared that this Obama administration would never have let us do that.
So you would be closed to the idea of changing the name until there's a change in administration?
Change to a favorable administration. Not just any administration, but we really need Republicans, pro-energy people in the administration at the federal level for us to do that.
Well, I appreciate you joining us. Can you tell us how we can find out, how the people can find out more about your campaign?
You can go to Becky Berger for Texas, FOR, just in case, and it's either .net, .org, or .com. They will all take you there. If you want to send me a personal email, send it to Becky Berger, FOR, RRC, @gmail.com. And I would love to have your support, and I would love to have your donations, because the statewide race is an expensive race, and I'm planning on winning it. Thank you.
Thank you. Best of luck to you.